And we'll go ahead and get started because I love rewarding people who come on time. So welcome, I'm Petra Sultan. I'm with Thrive, the Alliance of Nonprofits for San Mateo County, and this is our Environment and Sustainability Thrive Action Group. Next. So Thrive is the Alliance of Nonprofits for San Mateo County, and we do a lot of things in addition to our environment group, but our main pillars are that we unite the voice and influence of nonprofits, we build their capacity, and we form cross-sector partnerships. Next. Here's some examples of some of the programs that we do. Some of the ones that I think are really important that would be interesting for this group is that we do a lot of outreach around voting. And so one of the ways to create political change is by having representatives that listen to you. And one of the ways to do that is to vote and to make sure that the districts are good. So we invite you to come to our voter Education and Outreach Advisory Committee meeting, to any of our trainings on redistricting. Today was a big day for census geeks because the census numbers came out. And so now we're going to be able to do redistricting, and including for the special districts in San Mateo County and the county level. And so if you want more information about that, please come to our website, come to our trainings, and specifically on the recall election. I know that recall election is confusing to some people. We are doing 15-minute trainings. So you can just come in for 15 minutes and learn everything there is to know about the recall election. So you're very welcome to visit Thrive's website. We are a membership-based organization. So we love having Thrive members. And if you want more information about membership, you can also find that on our website. So like I said, we do a lot of different programs, but this one specifically is environmental sustainability. So if you go to the next slide, we've been doing this for about 3 years now. And the purpose of us having an environmental sustainability issue area is because we really felt like in the environment movement in San Mateo, there wasn't a table where everyone was getting together. There are a lot of different issues around environment and sustainability. It is a huge topic, but there are also about 150 different organizations in San Mateo County, if you're counting government and youth and nonprofits, that are working on this. And we really wanted to have a table where people would get together and discuss these issues. The idea is to get to the next step. So, back one. So this is what we've been doing. I don't need to read you the numbers, but I want you to know that the next meeting we're going to have is going to be about collective impact, because there's so many environmental groups all working on disparate things. But what would happen if we all found some collective goals that we were working towards together? So our next meeting is on September 23rd. We don't have the registration up, but we will soon. And we're going to talk about collective impact. How can we all get on the same page to become more powerful? So I hope that you will join us for that. Again, September 23rd, 3:30 to 5:30. So the next thing I want to do is on the next slide is thank our sponsors. And one is Mid-Peninsula Open Space District, and the other one is Peninsula Clean Energy. And Peninsula Clean Energy just rolled out a new program. So this is a program they've had for a while, which is to receive $200 to rent an EV for a weekend, because we know that a lot of people are hesitant about owning an EV because they haven't driven one and they're not secure about it. So Peninsula Clean Energy is supplying $200 to rent one for a weekend or however long, so that you can, this might help for some of your more hesitant friends to get used to the idea that it works really well. And then on the next slide, they have a new program that they just rolled out this week, which is I'm super excited about, which is a used electric vehicle rebate program. So any resident can get up to $1,000 for a fully electric EV, and income qualifying ones can get up to $4,000. So you apply through the Peninsula Clean Energy website. We have 2 people from Peninsula Clean Energy on this call. Kirsten and Vanessa, and you can reach out to them on the chat, or you can always reach out to me and I can connect you to them, or you can go to the Peninsula Clean Energy website. But I think this program is really exciting because, again, some of the barriers to kind of entry in the electric vehicle market is the cost, and this will be really help. So next slide.
What? Okay.
So when we started thinking about doing this program, we were thinking very much about it's summer, and at the same time, this beach bummer report comes out, and a whole bunch of San Mateo beaches just don't look really good on those numbers. And so we really wanted to address that. And as we were starting to dig deeper into it, what we realized is there are a lot of organizations who are working on different aspects of this, both from the government side and from the nonprofit side. And so this is a really packed program because there's so many different organizations that are doing really great work. And we really wanted to highlight not just the organizations, but the intersection between the organizations. So what I've asked is for each one of these organizations to do a very short presentation about what they do, why they do it, and then we will go ahead and have conversation. So with that, I'm going to turn it to our first presenter, which is Cleave, who's the founder of Sea Hugger.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. So Sea Hugger is a grassroots nonprofit based out of Half Moon Bay, California. I founded Sea Hugger about 3.5 years ago because I love to surf and scuba dive and stand up paddleboard and also beachcomb, and I love to travel. And through the years, I was seeing less and less treasure and more trash. And so after getting absolutely fed up, I closed down my tech business and started Sea Hugger. So Sea Hugger primarily focuses on marine plastic pollution. We kind of are in the behavioral change business, trying to get people to examine their lifestyles, switch from their single-use habits to reusables. But then over time, I realized, really the emphasis shouldn't just be on the consumer. We need change on a much larger scope. We need extended producer responsibility for those manufacturers that are manufacturing these products. They need to have a clear end of life. We need to have just some systematic changes to circular solutions. So we've been partnering with a lot of different organizations. We've promoted getting the petitions, signatures for the petition on the 2022 ballot for California for plastic reduction, promoting laws on the federal, state, and local level. And I absolutely love San Mateo County because when we're kind of the new kids on the block, but we were just really welcomed, and so many opportunities to partner together, because I believe that, and all of us on this call believe that, the more voices and the more hands that we have doing this work, the greater the opportunity for us, to really make big, significant change. And then so Sea Hugger, we do cleanups, but we do a lot of education. And one really awesome thing that happened for us out of COVID is the city of Half Moon Bay asked all the nonprofits if they were willing to create a camp to help the families that were struggling with distance learning and working and all of that through the shutdown. So we quickly threw together Camp Sea Hugger, an outdoor camp where kids really connect to nature and they learn the importance of protecting their environment, and just through falling in love with the open spaces and the animals, the kids just foster this natural desire to keep it safe. And they're already so connected to the earth anyway. So it's just really great to have that grow out of something so difficult, with the pandemic. And then we're also doing a video series, which I'm really excited about, and the Office of Sustainability gave us a grant. And so we're doing a Camp Sea Hugger video series, and that's for the kids that don't have access to the coast. So they can also learn about our marine environment and connect and learn also how they can make a difference. So I'm going to set the stage for all of you. I'm sure you all are aware of the extent of the issue, but some people might not be. And so I'm actually on vacation right now in Lahaina, and I have the perfect little story to set the stage of the true problem. So I love to surf. I'm out surfing. There's a honu, you know, the sea turtle just popping up its little head looking at me. There's fish, birds. It's just utterly gorgeous. Floating by is a little food wrapper, which I grab, tuck into my suit, finish my surf, come in, and I look over and I see someone trying to boogie board, and they're standing on the coral. And there's all kinds of signage, you know, don't stand on the coral hill is really fragile. They have, you know, the big push for reef safe sunscreen. I still see people with the spray on sunscreen that's chemical based, not mineral based. And so people just, even with signage, you know, they're not getting it. So clearly we need to do more. And then as I'm walking along the beach, back to our condo, I have to do a short little beach cleanup before I can even exit the beach, because there's so much microplastic here, and it's tiny and it looks like bright colored shells, or people maybe don't even recognize it. And so I've had the opportunity to talk with a few people and say, oh, hey, you know, those aren't actually shells. That's polystyrene, you know, those are little bits of broken toys. And so just kind of, you know, help people that are here to kind of see the extent of the problem. And some other people were chipping in and cleaning up a little bit too. So that felt great. You know, for each one of us, just in a few minutes, we can reach another person, and then hopefully, you know, they'll start a new habit for protecting our beautiful oceans. And what I just explained here, that's happening all over the world, certainly in Half Moon Bay. And that's, you know, why all of these groups are together to try and protect our beautiful marine ecosystem. And I'm really honored to be here and share in this discussion. Thank you.
Shall we have some of your slides as well, if you want to?
Sure. Oh, yes. Sorry.
We'll
yes.
go through them so that you can explain
Sure.
what you're doing.
What we do. Right. Okay. So we, like I mentioned, microplastic. We focus on microplastic, and we have this device called a nurdle trommel. You'll see it on the right. It's a big drum. You scoop sand in it, we turn it, and then the sand comes through, is sieved through the mesh, and you're left with the little bits of microplastic and the things that are hiding in the sand that people don't even see. And what's really awesome about this device is once people see it, they can't unsee it. So it's not only does it help clean the beaches, it's also a really great educational tool. And on the left, this is a little disc we have. It's called the, oh no, can we go back? Sorry. Okay, it's a mermaid tear catcher. So you'll see all those nurdles, those little teeny, yes, so the little bright colored balls, those are actually the raw form of plastic. And this was collected in about 30 minutes out at Coyote Point. And we suspect these nurdles are probably coming from the Alameda Harbor, their spills. Nurdles are a terrible way to create plastic, and they're really problematic to contain, and they're transported all over, and there's just spills all the time. And of course they look like, you know, roe, and animals eat them and die. And so, you know, we're also trying to have the plastic industry clean up its act and come up with a better solution, or, you know, stop manufacturing plastic. So next. Next. Okay, so here's just a couple quick shots. Here's a big picture of the nurdle trommel, and then the kids looking in it, and you see how excited they are. So here's our other device. We're really excited about this. This resides in Pillar Point Harbor, and this is our sea bin. And the sea bin cleans the harbor of microplastic, macroplastic, and marine oil. So you can see on the left, that's looking down on the device, and you can see that pad is soaked with oil. There's cigarette butts, wrappers, polystyrene. We also get an awful lot of fibers from filament from, we suspect, a fishing line, because it is a harbor. We get, you know, bits of lures, things like that. And then also we have looked under some of the water under a microscope, and there's so many microfibers, a lot of microfibers. So the health of the water, you know, up close, it might look really clean, but there's an awful lot of microplastic. And so we're just grateful that the harbor let us partner and put this sea bin in. We use it for tours with schools to educate kids about the problem, and it's a really effective tool. Next. And this is also another cleanup we did. This is our underwater cleanup. So we actually I was one of the divers and several of our ambassadors, one's a lifeguard and surfs Mavericks. We went under the water and we did a cleanup, and you'll see we pulled up 2 carts, and those are the carts that people use to transport things on the dock to their boats, because there's a lot of residents in this harbor, as well as being a working harbor. And so this is just in about 2 hours, we pulled up this huge amount of plastic, and they had animals living inside of the bottles. And it's horrible because we could see them breaking down, the plastic breaking down in various stages. And it was just pretty shocking to see the amount of debris under there. Next. I think that might be it for me. Oh, okay, here's some more pictures. Okay, so on the left, you'll see there's a starfish that had taken up residence in this plastic lid, and just some more pictures of the cleanup. So, and we're gonna continue to do this. And in fact, we're gonna be doing this in September, and it's going to be one of the videos that I mentioned for the Camp Sea Hugger virtual field trip video. So it'll be really great for the kids to see, the working harbor, as well as the cleanups involved. And I think that should be it for me. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Shel. We really appreciate it. We're going to go to someone who I know you work with a lot, Lynn Adams, who's president of the Pacific Beach Coalition, who's going to take herself off of mute.
There we go. Gotcha. Sorry about that. Hi, everyone. Thank you, Shel, for your work. Thank you for showing us the nurdles. I think we all need to recognize the small pieces of plastic, and whether they're nurdles that are in the original form or the broken pieces of plastic, they're very important to recognize. Thank you. Next. We work for clean beaches, streets, and a healthy ocean. Our hope is to educate and inspire people to end litter, actually. And we have to end litter, like Shel said, by kind of changing what we're using and move away from the plastic, which is all mostly single use and all photodegradable, into smaller and smaller microplastic. Next. The Pacific Beach Coalition is dedicated to preserving the ocean, coastal habitat and wildlife, and ending litter through advocacy, education, community building, and citizen action. Next. And we really attempt to give people experiences to help them feel, see, smell, and understand the challenges and problems. We do beach cleanups. We do habitat restoration along the coastal trail. We do team building events to have people gather together and make differences as a group. We have a junior albatross team, which is a group of high school kids that are very engaged and very helpful, and junior site captains, and they're going to be our future leaders. So they're pretty amazing. Next. Through COVID, we also do assemblies, lectures, educational talks. We have an education program where we go into the classrooms. Well, this year we went virtually to teach students, and we've been doing this for years and years, teach students about a specific animal. One this year and last year was the albatross. We also have done the whales. We've done snowy plover. We pick a different species each year to educate about, so that they have an opportunity to kind of connect to something that kind of shares the magic of the environment and why we need to protect it. Next. Through COVID, one of the big things that we did was we recognized we couldn't really all get together, but the problem was even worse because there was more to-go containers all strewn around. People were flocking to the open spaces and to the beaches. People were washing things down with those hand wipes that are all microfiber, containing microfibers and plastic. They were using gloves, they were using, all kinds of things, the masks, and we were finding them everywhere, on our streets, in our parks, on the beaches, in the parking lots, everywhere we were. So we started a program called the Street to Beach, inviting people to pick up when they could, where they could. And we provided them with pickup sticks and buckets. And most people don't need that. They are doing it without supplies. And we have we have inspired over 1,100 people to join this program. And they have logged 3,000, over 3,000 volunteer people have logged in and recorded their stuff. This is a cleanup where you record what you collect through an app called CleanSwell. And we have people all over from Seattle down to Southern California working to clean up their streets, their beaches, their parking lots, wherever they want to go. Since June, we can look at the next one. So just this year, through the Street to Beach program, the people that have logged it on the CleanSwell app are collecting data that we have to say, look, this is a problem. This is what we're collecting, and we need to do something better. And so it's giving empirical data. It's giving statistics to us to use. And I'm very proud to say, they logged 95,000 cigarette butts, and this is just through this program. It doesn't include our beach cleanups, which pretty much doubles or sometimes triples these numbers. They've logged over 17,000 pounds of trash, 27,000 plastic pieces. The number one thing picked up is cigarette filters. The number two thing picked up over this time period, and this is just from this year, is the plastic pieces, which might be microplastic, it might be broken pens, it might be broken toys, it might be broken film, like a plastic bag that's broken into many pieces, or a water bottle, or other plastic pieces that break down. So plastic pieces that really you can't say, oh, this was a bag, this was this, that goes in this category. The really impetus for this was the personal hygiene. People called and said, Lynn, what are we going to do about the masks and the gloves and the hand wipes that people are leaving everywhere? And so that was the reason we started this Street to Beach cleanup, while we've also provided pickup sticks for people so they could do this safely, while we didn't know anything about it. This year alone, we've collected 7,400 personal hygiene items, which, believe it or not, also include like toothpicks, the plastic toothpicks and the plastic ear cleaners and all kinds of things that are really horrible. And the hand wipes that many people think are paper, but they are in fact plastic. 15,000, over 15,000 food wrappers. That's the number 3 thing that we have accumulated. If you bottle caps and straws, over 15,000. If we added the single-use plastic together, it would probably add up to more than even the cigarette butts, because almost everything we're finding is plastic pieces. Next. So I'm glad that we're having this conversation. I'm glad that we're here. We need action. We need education. We need change. We have to think about different ways to do things. And we need everyone's voice. Tom Lantos once told me years ago, he said, if you want me to legislate something, you have to make it so that I have to legislate. You need to have the people behind you that say, this is what we want. And I inspire all of you, please, to use your voice to educate people, to inspire people, and to help them vote, right, for the people that will make change, but also to let the legislators know we want better choices. We want something other than plastic, which we see in our ocean, in our land, in our air, we see everywhere, and it's going into our bodies. So I hope to engage you and I thank you for joining together to deal with this issue. So action, education, change, and voices. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lynn. I think Lynn and Shell both have shown us in a lot of detail in what the issues are and some of the things we can do. But I want to continue on the what we can do about this train. And with that, I want to turn it over to Eun-Soo, who's a senior sustainability specialist at San Mateo County's Office of Sustainability.
Great, thanks everybody. And thank you Thrive and Petra for giving me an opportunity, inviting me to speak at this event. Hi everybody, my name is Eun-Soo and I'm Senior Sustainability Specialist at County of San Mateo's Office of Sustainability. And I want to talk a little bit about one of the many ways the county is doing currently to address a lot of, sorry, I'm getting all these error messages suddenly on my computer. That's very distracting. One of the many ways that the county is helping to keep our waterways and beaches clean. And specifically, I'd like to talk about the county's disposable food serviceware ordinance. Next slide, please. The county adopted our ordinance early last year, and next slide, please. Its main objective is to reduce single-use foodware made from plastic, which has become pervasive pollutants with long-term harmful impacts on our streets, our storm drains, ocean, beaches, and in our bodies. And the key elements of the ordinance will require restaurants, as well as other food facilities, to transition away from using plastic disposable food serviceware, as some of the examples are provided on the slide on the left, to transition to items made from compostable natural fibers, such as paper and sugarcane, which do not have the same long-term harmful effects as those made from plastic. So the ordinance will, the ordinance will also provide or require food facilities to distribute accessories such as straws and utensils only when needed by the consumer. Next slide, please. And in our effort to make this initiative countywide, the county has been collaborating with our city partners to explore the ordinance for their jurisdictions. And the county, we're offering to lead the education and enforcement efforts for the ordinance within the cities if they choose to adopt the county's ordinance. And as of today, 10 jurisdictions, including the county, and 9 cities within the county have adopted the ordinance. And we have other cities that are currently in the process of considering it for their jurisdictions. And I do want to point out that a lot of the cities that you see on the table here, they've pushed ahead and adopted this ordinance in the middle of COVID, which speaks a lot to where, how important this effort is to the community members within our county. Next slide, please. And as part of ordinance implementation, the county, we recently launched a new foodware aware program. And through this program, we will be providing outreach as well as technical assistance and financial support to help restaurants and other food facilities meet the new requirements, as well as help them go beyond the ordinance by helping them to switch from disposable to reusable foodware. And we have a number of resources available on our new Foodware Aware program website that you see on the slide, including a purchasing guide of compliant foodware items that's available to help our food facilities. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. It's great that the county is also really addressing this. When we talk about cross-sector collaboration, this is an example of that. And with that, it's the perfect time because I think that Alejandra can actually answer the question in chat as well. Alejandra Warren is the Executive Director of Plastic Free Future.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. I feel very privileged to go after Shell, Lynn, and Eun-Soo. I've done a lot of work with the 3 of them. I admire them greatly. They are dedicating their lives to making our county a better place. So we should be all very thankful with the three of them. Shell, my dear friend, I love you. Hope you're having a great vacation. Okay, so I am the co-founder with my husband and executive director of Plastic Free Future. Next, please. We are a brand new California-based nonprofit. We are focused on reduction of plastic pollution, and our goals are to do it through reusable alternatives to plastic, and also to focusing on education in underserved communities. And by that, we mean every single community that has been left behind the conversation of sustainability for hundreds of years. We want to bring them to the table, have conversations with them, empower them to join the discussion on sustainability. Next. So plastic pollution, why plastic pollution? Just like Shell, Eun-Soo, and Lynn said, plastic pollution is a really overwhelming problem. And I know we're talking about oceans today and our focus is on oceans today, but I want to make sure that all of you leave this presentation connecting the problems that we are facing with plastic pollution. Oceans, human health, land, climate change, and environmental justice. I know everybody's worried about climate change right now, and you should be. We should all be concerned about climate change. And reducing the amount of plastic we use every day, we are making something really big, a really big impact on climate. So I want you to think about where plastics come from. Plastics, bioplastics, compostable plastics, they're all made out of fossil fuels. So as long as we're talking about plastic, we will continue to talk about fossil fuels. If we want to end our relationship with fossil fuels, we need to talk plastics. Next. And that's exactly why we're having this conversation here with Lynn, with Shell, with Eun-Soo. What is our county doing to fix this problem? As Lynn said, very tragically in that graphic, they're finding pounds and pounds of plastic in our beaches, streets, oceans. Imagine the amount of plastic that is in the ocean that we can't even quantify. This is the order of items that we're finding. And all of us, all of our nonprofits are working to eliminate every single one of these materials. The county is working hard on introducing policy that is going to help us reduce the amount of straws, utensils, plastic containers, and plastic bags that we're seeing in the county. And each of us has to think about how are we going to make responsible decisions that are going to help us reduce the amount of plastic. It's not only policy, it's not only government, it's also manufacturing, but it's also the decisions that we're making ourselves and at home. Next. So looking at every single item that is polluting the ocean, we are focusing in reusable solutions. And that means what can we do to reduce the amount of plastic that we're using by reusing something again and again. So if you see this mug here that I think Eun-Soo has the same one, Lynn has the same one, we're bringing this one to our coffee shop, getting our coffee shop here. That is one coffee cup that you are preventing from becoming waste. We're talking about manufacturing, extraction, transportation, distribution, waste. One single item has a really big impact. So we're trying to figure out ways to talk about these solutions with our community. This picture right here, I love this picture because this is our biggest program in East Palo Alto. We're talking to our Latinx community about how to introduce reusable solutions into their lives. How to use a reusable jar instead of plastic cups to get their drinks. How to use a reusable coffee mug instead of getting plastic cups from their coffee shop. How to use reusable produce bags to reduce the amount of plastic bags we are getting in farmers market. Only in the farmers market in East Palo Alto, our farmers are distributing over 1,000 plastic bags in just one morning. That's East Palo Alto only. And we have farmers markets all over San Mateo County. So right now we have programs in Pacifica, Half Moon Bay, and East Palo Alto. And our intention is to communicate this super important information of little things that we can do to reduce the amount of plastic that's ending up in the ocean. And this is my favorite one because it's 98% in Spanish. So I get to engage with my community in Spanish and I love that. Next. I'm going to miss the kids visiting because during summer we had lots of kids visiting the farmers market. Now they're going to go back to school, so I'm gonna miss them. This picture is from Half Moon Bay. She's my friend, Crystal. I developed a really nice relationship with her family, and we noticed how they're using Ziploc bags to distribute their beautiful beans, colorful, organic, so precious. And we are helping them transition from single-use plastic to reusables. So we are making sure that people know that their bags can be used to buy their beans. In that way, we are removing hundreds of Ziploc bags from the farmers market. But our goal is not only to remove plastic bags from farmers market, is to make sure we educate people about how those bags can be used in the supermarket, for snacks, for sandwich bags, because those Ziploc bags, Shell and Lynn can tell us, we find them all the time in beach cleanups, all the time. When they end up in the ocean, they look like a beautiful jellyfish, and animals don't understand the difference between a Ziploc bag and a jellyfish, and they're eating plastic, our plastic, that plastic that we use during 5, 10, or 15 minutes, and then it ends up hurting animals and polluting the ocean forever. So our decisions are important. Our relationships are important. When Lynn, Shell, Eun-Soo, and I, and the rest of us get together and find solutions, that's what Thrive is trying to support, and that's why we are really happy to be here today. Next, and I think that's the last one. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask. We'll have more time for questions later, so thank you.
Thank you, Alejandra. And I just got kicked off and came back on. So I'm very sorry about that. Jim, we are now introducing Jim Pruett, who's the general manager of the San Mateo County Harbor District. So we're switching back again to the government side. So thank you for being here.
Fantastic, and thank you. The first thing I want to do is thank Thrive for coordinating this panel and bringing us together to discuss the water quality, and everybody who's taking time out of their day to listen and ask questions of us. It's a very important topic for us here at the Harbor District, and it's one that the Harbor District's been very active in for several years now. Again, I'm Jim Pruett. I'm the general manager of the San Mateo County Harbor District. The Harbor District's an independent special district charged with operating and maintaining both Pillar Point Harbor in Half Moon Bay and Oyster Point Marina in South San Francisco. The district is funded by both tax dollars and revenue generated through commercial enterprises. We're a little bit different from everyone else on this panel in that we are responsible for beaches and the water of Pillar Point Harbor. Tonight, we're going to discuss what we're doing as a government agency and addressing those issues with the water and the beaches. Pillar Point, I'm going to focus my conversation on Pillar Point on the coast as opposed to Oyster Point, which is on the bay. For Pillar Point, it's an active commercial and recreational harbor supporting commercial fishing, wholesale sale of that commercial fishing products, commercial fish markets, off-the-boat sales directly to the public of fish, charter vessels for charter fishing and sightseeing, recreational boating, life-saving and maritime assist services, commercial restaurants, kayak, surfboard, and paddleboard rentals. We're responsible for the coastal trail that goes through Pillar Point Harbor. We're responsible to maintain and operate a boat launch ramp that thousands of boats launch from every year. We have a saltwater marsh within the harbor. The West Trail is also our responsibility and provides emergency access and also public access out the Mavericks Beach area. And then we also have public restroom and public space at Surfers Beach in the near future once constructed. All these activities result in thousands of visitors coming to Pillar Point Harbor each week. Pillar Point is also a harbor of refuge for vessels transiting the California coast, and they can tuck into Pillar Point for the night or if they're in danger. With respect to water quality, the harbor waters themselves, the quality of that has been tested below detectable levels or below the required levels for bacterial levels. And that I'm going to focus most of my discussion on bacterial levels. The problem with Pillar Point Harbor is not the harbor itself, it's the beaches. And the beaches are coming up with high bacteria levels that are could be unhealthy for humans. To address these issues within the harbor, the district partnered with the San Mateo County Resource Conservation District to identify sources of pollutions entering the harbor or where their pollutions are coming from. And most recently entering into a 300,000 unit with RCD to continue that partnership. Through this partnership, the district has shown the harbor itself is not contaminated with the bacteria. The source of that bacteria is not from harbor operations or its vessels. The source of the contamination originates from outside the limits of the harbor district in the harbor through the stormwater system. The beaches of Pillar Point Harbor are the receivers of the outside sources of pollution via the creek and stormwater system. And there are 5 separate outfalls in Pillar Point Harbor receiving outfall into the harbor. As a result, as the issues is outside the jurisdiction of the harbor district has been working with the county, the sewer authority mid-coast, RCD, and other municipalities and organizations to address the upstream issues. Participating in the panel discussion today is also part of our efforts to educate the public about water quality and what they can do to assist. With respect to steps the harbor district has taken to ensure water quality continues within the harbor itself, the following steps have been taken. All stormwater pipes have been cleaned and inspected and repaired and replaced as appropriate. Improper ties to the stormwater system have been sealed. All sewage lines have been tested to ensure no leakage. Parking on the main Johnson Pier has been significantly reduced, and as a byproduct of that, fluids from automobiles on the pier are no longer, it's been significantly reduced and not washing into the harbor. Dock washing is conducted with a recovery system to prevent contaminants and bird droppings from entering in the harbor from our dock washing evolutions. And then the most recently, the fish fire building roof, which is a favorite resting place of thousands of seabirds, is cleaned each quarter to remove large amounts of bird droppings, preventing those from entering the harbor. We also offer free sewage pump out station and service to vessels in the harbor. We offer free bilge and oil pump out service for vessels. We operate a free oil recycling program for users of the harbor. We installed several pet waste stations throughout the entire harbor areas. In association with Shell again at Sea Hugger, we support the Sea Bin, which collects plastics and oil from the harbor waters themselves. And then we also support the harbor cleanups conducted by Sea Hugger. And then the district supports beach cleanup, of course, along the coast too. The harbor district is also working with RCD to establish a regional committee that will address water quality, and including the new TMDL, which will be published this fall. And in that, the TMDL is outside just one jurisdiction and crosses multiple jurisdictional boundaries. We're trying to get all those jurisdictional boundaries or agencies to the table to attack the issue in a joint effort versus doing it singly. Barring any questions, that's what the harbor district's been up to for the last couple of years, and we'll continue to work on it on a daily basis.
Thank you, Jim. I bet you will have some questions at the end for you. We appreciate the update from the harbor district. I think we don't actually hear from you that often, so we appreciate you sharing what you're doing. And I think one of the points that you made was that a lot of the things that happen in the harbor don't originate in the harbor. So our next two speakers are actually going to address that. So the first one is Adriana Fernandez from Nuestra Casa, who's going to talk about their environmental justice work. And one of the things that they do is they have a training academy, because as all of our guests have said, we need people to be vocal and to speak up about these issues. So Adriana, do you want to tell us about your programs?
Yes, hi everyone, buenas tardes, good afternoon. My name is Adriana Fernandez Arriaga, and I'm the Housing and Environmental Justice Coordinator with Nuestra Casa. I've been with Nuestra Casa for a year now. Wow, that was fast. But Nuestra Casa has been in East Palo Alto since 2002. Nuestra Casa is a grassroots nonprofit organization who works around uplifting our resilient Latinx, African American, and Pacific Islander families of East Palo Alto, Bellhaven, and North Fair Oaks through community education, leadership development, and advocacy. And we do that with some of the following programs, which include our Promotoras program, food distribution. Pre-COVID, we were serving 2,000 families, and now during COVID, that has increased to 6,000 families a month. Our housing advocacy work, but today I'm here to talk to you all about our growing environmental justice program, which includes our Environmental Justice Parent Academy, sea level rise work with the San Francisco Bay Conservation and Development Commission, also known as BCDC, water rights, and other efforts that we're working on. So Nuestra Casa got involved in environmental justice in 2017 when Nuestra Casa was asked to be part of the environmental justice review team for the San Francisco Bay Conservation and Development Commission's Environmental Justice Bay Plan Amendment. And it was initiated to incorporate principles of environmental justice and social equity into the planning, design, and permitting of shoreline projects in and along the San Francisco Bay, which was voted on and adopted into BCDC's policies in December of 2019. And we continued our environmental justice efforts by adding our Environmental Justice Parent Academy to build climate justice leaders in our historically overlooked low-income and immigrant community. We want our voices and solutions to be included in discussions and policies related to climate change. Our Environmental Justice Parent Academy is a 12-week program that is split into two 6-week, 2-hour sessions. So we're starting a program again with the new cohort this September. So it'll be from September to November. That'll be the first 6 weeks, and then they'll have a break and an opportunity to work on some projects. And then we'll continue the rest of the academy in the spring, winter, spring time for another 6 weeks. When Nuestra Casa started doing the pilot version of the Environmental Justice Academy, it was in person, but as you all know, COVID hit, and so we had to transition and make this virtual, which came with a couple of challenges, some of them including the fact that many of our community members did not have the access to the appropriate technology, Wi-Fi, or just knew how to function a computer or know what Zoom is. And so we worked through a lot of those challenges with our helpers and by creating some guides and just walking them step by step through the process. Our EJ Academy is made up of 4 cohorts. We have our Pacific Islander cohort, African American cohort, our Latinx cohort, and then our youth. And they're broken up into these cohorts because we want the material to be culturally relevant, and they are taught by community leaders within each cohort. And some of the things that that the sessions include, the first 6 weeks, we focus on broader level. What is environmental justice? What is climate change? What is sea level rise? What is like water rights? So these are all introductions. And then the following 6 weeks, we go more specific to the local level. So we go into the history of East Palo Alto through an environmental justice lens, climate justice, migration and tokenism, what is in my water, what is in my air, disaster preparedness, advocacy, and outreach training and climate change. Because like I mentioned before, we want to create leaders and let them know about the potential that they have. So I like to call this program as co-learning, because the community knows what they need. They know what's happening. They know what's best for them. And I call it a co-learning process because we might be sharing new information to them, as well as they're sharing new information with us. And so it's a co-learning process throughout the whole thing. And like I mentioned, we do have a section between the two, between the Environmental Justice Academy, where participants have the option to participate and create projects either in groups or individually. And this is a really exciting part, just to see them so excited to come up with ideas to create awareness and focus on environmental justice in their home. And so one of the first place winners for the project was the Michoacanos. So they call themselves the Michoacanos because all of them are from the state of Michoacan in Mexico. And they created a sustainable gardening project. So this garden was made out of all recycled plastic material. I mean, all of recycled material, including like plastic water bottles and anything that would go to waste or recycle. And they made it in a way where people could actually have this in an apartment or in a small space, which is where a lot of our community in East Palo Alto lives. And it was just so awesome to see how excited they were and how happy, and just like all the work that they put into creating this and like making a whole video, which I would love to share with y'all. But this is one of the exciting things that came out of the Environmental Justice Academy. And I invite you all to sit in on our upcoming EJ Parent Academy sessions. And I can leave my email in the chat if you would like to sit in and listen to some of our sessions coming up. And then we also got involved with water pollution issues after conducting a community needs assessment, and many were raising water quality as an issue. One of our staff members, Roxana, was seeing health effects from the water she was showering with, to the point where like her hair was falling, and others in the community had a similar story. And Nuestra Casa's functions based on the needs of the community. So this is a big issue we have planned to take on. And as you may or may not know, we are a mighty team of 4 plus our part-time staff, but we're looking for more support to help us with our fast-growing water rights and environmental justice program, and are looking to hire a full-time community water organizer to help us with the following steps. 1, to organize our community. 2, to start our water testing efforts in the community. And then also to help report to the community the findings of the test results in a way that community can understand and speak Spanish, and also is able to translate that into Spanish. And then we want to use this data to advocate and bring safe, clean, and affordable drinking water to the community of East Palo Alto.
Thank you, Adriana, and good luck on your search. And if anybody in the audience knows the right person, please let Adriana know so that Nuestra Casa can continue to expand their environmental justice work. I think it's really great that local leaders are learning how to do just what we're talking about, get involved. So thank you for sharing about your programs. And then our next speaker is Reid Bogert from the Stormwater, from Flows to the Bay, right, with the Stormwater Program Specialist at San Mateo County.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me. I'm Reid Bogert, work with the City County Association of Governments in San Mateo County, which is primarily a congestion management agency for San Mateo, but also is the home for the Countywide Stormwater Program. And so I work on stormwater, and one of our primary roles is to help the 21 cities, towns, and the county itself comply with regional stormwater quality regulations. And so I'll share a little bit in a few slides about one of our main areas of emphasis, which is green infrastructure, and what the cities and our program is doing to support advancing urban greening and green infrastructure planning and implementation to help solve some of the pollution problems. Even trash, which is not a primary function of green infrastructure, but it helps. So I'm sorry, I have a rowdy 5-year-old with me. So yeah, we can advance slides, I think, if you have them on your end, and I'll just share a few things here. So we can skip this one, go on to the next. Okay, so just to kind of set the stage for those that are less familiar with the topic, this is an image of pre-urban development where you see how the water cycle works in natural conditions, and not major rocket science here, but basically a lot of water is getting into the soil and subsoil area, infiltrating. Some of it's moving through the landscape into creeks and local waterways. Some of it's moving up through the vegetation, through evapotranspiration. So that's how the normal system works. Then next slide is a development condition where you have buildings, sidewalks, streets and roads, parking lots, a lot of paved hard surfaces, which is great for people in many ways, but it changes the whole dynamic of water. And so here you're seeing the series of pipe systems where now most of the water is flowing over the surface of our landscape and then into pipes. Very little is infiltrating and not much is getting back into the air through plants. So that's the kind of the condition we've built for ourselves. And then the next slide demonstrates sort of where we're hoping to get with green infrastructure, which is a balance. We're never going to get back to pre-development conditions. Not that we would want to, that would be pretty difficult, but a balance of those things is where you have green infrastructure and trees. You know, trees offer a lot of benefit in terms of stormwater capture, managing rain, and preventing pollutants from getting into the water in the first place. And you see these little basins where the trees are. Those are a typical bioswale, you might hear them called, or rain gardens, where there are special soils to clean the water before it is either infiltrated or sent back into the storm drain system or to a creek or the ocean, and it's cleaner at that point. So those are some of the main goals. Next slide. Just showing a few of the benefits. It's more than just water. I did want to emphasize that. You can get a lot of benefits with increased natural habitat once you start building more biodiverse vegetated systems. You can manage flood reduction and flood risk, which is a growing concern for many communities in the county and elsewhere. Enhance safety, which is a great component, great intersection with active transportation projects and programs. Reducing the heat impact of climate change, and also infiltrating water into the groundwater system. Much of San Mateo County doesn't use groundwater. Some of the areas in the unincorporated county do, and in the north area of the county, there's some groundwater usage there, but in future we may use more, especially with drought conditions. So we can continue. Next slide. And this is really one of the main slides I wanted to share. This gets at some of the different scales of green infrastructure planning and implementation that our program supports the municipalities with. So moving from left to right, we have parcel scale, on-site management of stormwater. This is where you're capturing rain where it falls. And a lot of this work is done through new and redevelopment projects that are required to install green infrastructure on site. And you'll see this, in a lot of newer buildings that are going up, parking complexes, the big strip malls and things. Now they have Target and so on, they have these facilities built into them. It's actually a very good regulatory advancement, but also working at local sites like schools. So that's something that CCAG is starting to do, and a great emphasis on East Palo Alto just now. We're now working with the Ravenswood School District to advance some green greening elements to the campuses there. We also have another project in the San Carlos School District, partnering with them there. We have a grant to do sort of comprehensive schoolyard greening concept plans for up to 3 of the campuses in San Carlos. And we work with the County Office of Education to do that sort of engagement, putting in rain barrels and cisterns to harvest rainwater, rain gardens, like I said, but also building in curriculum components to support outdoor learning now, especially with COVID, but linking to eco-literacy goals with schools. So that's something a little bit different for CCAG, but we're looking for opportunities to work with local school districts and nonprofits that are interested in education, and specifically with the linkage to the different benefits of greening schools, whether it's just learning about climate change and water quality, biodiversity, a lot of synergies there. The next scale is at the street, and we call them green streets for obvious reasons, but this is where you're managing stormwater runoff in the right of way and from the street scale. So you could capture runoff from multiple blocks at an end of curb or end of a block curb extension like this, where you have the cut in the curb allowing stormwater to enter that little basin, fill up, and treat the stormwater, providing all those multiple benefits. And then you can also build in green infrastructure, active transportation elements like bikeways and new crossing improvements. And so this is something that we're also looking to do in partnership with school sites. We funded up to now 10 projects in various communities throughout the county. And so you may see some of these near schools. There's one in the Half Moon Bay at the library that CCAG helped pay for. And so we're really trying to move the needle on that street scale. We also developed a Sustainable Streets Master Plan recently, which gets at the same concept and is a countywide planning effort to identify high leverage opportunities to integrate green infrastructure. Again, working in partnership with communities, and would emphasize that it's helpful to have strong supporters from the community. If it's, Silicon Valley Bike Coalition is presenting on this work, we're partnering with that group. But I think there's more always to be done between local government and the communities themselves. Our program is funded by tax property related fees for the stormwater program, as well as a vehicle registration fee. And so, we're getting the money to do this work for the community, and we need to find those ways to work together to hear the voices of the communities, what matters most, where to put these facilities, what they should look like, even, what are some of the design elements, what are the transportation needs that can go along with that. So that's a really critical aspect of our work, and a great opportunity. And then regional scale stormwater management is really at that scale, stormwater being managed for an entire watershed and infiltrating below ground. Typically, this could be a massive underground retention system where you can do a lot of things with that water. Again, it's more than just a water quality program. At that point, you can store the water, prevent downstream flooding. There's a project in South San Francisco now like this going into, is in construction now. You can capture and reuse, you can clean the water to a certain level and reuse it for irrigation. You can use it for flushing toilets. If you have the right technology there, you can also infiltrate into the groundwater system and recharge aquifers. So that's another area of work that our program is really kind of leading the way on in San Mateo County. We have several new projects in San Bruno, Redwood City, Belmont. And so we're advancing designs on those projects. Hopefully they'll get funded. They cost a lot. They can be millions, tens of millions of dollars to build them. So we need money to help do that. Next slide. I think I have just a couple more here on some regulatory kind of updates with respect to our permit and things that we're continually working on, but new regulations coming down the line. I might have another. Oh, here's an example photo of a project in Burlingame on Carolyn Avenue, and you see the integration of pedestrian improvements, bike improvements, and green infrastructure. Next slide. get to really get a sense for what what a green street looks like, or a sustainable street. Here's another nice rendering. This is from the Sustainable Streets Master Plan that we developed. All right, thank you. So yeah, just to kind of wrap up with a couple slides here on things that are coming down the pike for us. Green infrastructure is a regulatory requirement under the regional stormwater permit for municipalities. And so there are requirements to do on-site stormwater treatment for new and redevelopment projects. Streets and roads of a certain size are regulated for stormwater management with green infrastructure. There are requirements to do voluntary projects. So the cities have to actually plan and start building some of these projects. And many of these requirements are driven by total maximum daily loads, which are basically just water quality plans to reduce certain pollutants. And you may have heard of PCBs, and mercury is another one, but these are legacy pollutants that are still out in the environment. As I mentioned, trash can also be managed by green infrastructure. There are other trash requirements that we're dealing with. And then there are new monitoring for, the whole idea of the beaches being impacted for bacteria and a whole suite of other pollutants, including PCBs, mercury, pesticides, regular kind of creek condition parameters. And so there's more coming down the line, and it's a lot of work to be done, but we do partner with groups like the RCD, the Resource Conservation District on the coast side to do some of that. And the county is a good partner in doing much of this work. And so we're trying to innovate to get, towards the regulatory compliance issues, but also dealing with climate change as its impacts grow. And so we're trying to think sort of outside the box and creatively in terms of how we can do that in partnership. And the next slide, I actually was asked by a member of our audience. John Allen is with the county Office of Sustainability, and specifically with respect to bacteria and stormwater, there are some new regulatory requirements coming online with the reissuance of the stormwater permit, which is happening now. There will be a new permit in place, should be effective by July 1st, 2022, so next summer, and there will likely be some new monitoring and water quality plan implementation requirements. So on the next slide, I think there are a couple of things outlined there as far as what's coming next. And Jim Pruett mentioned, the Harbor District is dealing with those exact issues. So that may not have, maybe didn't make it into the slide deck, but anyway, there, Venice Beach, Pillar Point Harbor, San Pedro Creek in Pacifica, there's down in Pescadero, there are strict regulatory requirements for monitoring and also doing education outreach to some extent, trying to stop the source of those pollutants from getting into the waterways in the first place. So I will finish there. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Reid. So just another example of government working on getting the water clean before it gets to the beaches. We will all be sending out follow-up emails with everyone's email and with everyone's websites as well, so that you'll be able to have an opportunity to go on the website for Flows to the Bay to see some of the projects that Reid is working on. And our last speaker, and we're, of course, as usual, have talked too much, but is actually kind of to wrap things up. We've been talking a lot about our local efforts, but we invited Kimberly Williams from Surfrider here to talk about what's going on a legislative front and what kind of an impact we can make on legislation that's pending right now. So thank you, Kimberly, for bringing us up to date on what's going on.
Hi, glad to be here, and thanks to Thrive Alliance for bringing us all together, and thanks to you all for all this critical, important work that you're doing. It's really appreciated and really just so important right now in the times that we're in. I'm Kimberly Williams, and I'm the volunteer policy manager for the San Mateo County chapter of Surfrider Executive Committee as the secretary as well. And I've been with the chapter since 2016, serving in different capacities along the way. Surfrider Foundation is dedicated to the protection and enjoyment of our oceans, waves, and beaches through a powerful activist network. And the San Mateo County chapter focuses locally on beach access, including equity and access and inclusion, beach protection, water quality through regular water testing by our Blue Water Task Force, and beach cleanups. Surfrider's current policy priorities at the federal level are related to water pollution. There are three big things: level funding for the EPA and $10 million for EPA's Beach Acts grant program in fiscal year 2022 budget. And that essentially impacts beach water quality monitoring programs, which is important for beach users, especially children and swimmers, those who are in the water, those who engage in water sports, so that we can know when there are dangerous waterborne pollutants that can cause illness and infection. The second one is $100 billion for EPA's Clean Water State Revolving Fund over 10 years. So $10 billion a year in an economic and infrastructure reconciliation package. And this funding would upgrade our nation's failing wastewater systems to stop sewage pollution at the source while helping to boost the economy. So the Senate bipartisan infrastructure agreement, which you've heard a lot about recently, includes an increase for annual funding for wastewater and stormwater treatment by roughly about $3 billion annually through the Clean Water State Revolving Fund. And I think right now it falls short about $10 billion a year, short of what we're asking. And then thirdly, and this one is very exciting, the Ocean-Based Climate Solutions Act of 2021 was introduced into Congress. And this proposal offers multiple ocean-based solutions to address climate change and reduce carbon emissions. It particularly recognizes the need to address the critical issues of the massive problem of plastic pollution that we've talked so much about today, and the production of plastic products from fossil fuels. So relevant parts of this proposal that directly impact ocean pollution and water quality are its recognition and support for natural wetland ecosystems. And these act as natural filters between the land and the ocean, and they carry multiple benefits beyond serving as buffers and filtering the water. It also seeks to protect 30% of the ocean by 2030 from destructive impacts to improve ocean health. And it includes creating a 5-cent excise tax on virgin plastic and manufactured single-use products, such as packaging. It does exempt medical products and personal hygiene products. And, that's something that hopefully we can address at some point. But it places the money in a virgin plastic trust fund, and half of that goes to the U.S. General Fund, and then the other half goes to funding activities described elsewhere in the Act itself. So those are the three federal initiatives. Surfrider has these listed on their website, and you can find out more about them and express support for these to your federal representatives. The other thing I'd like to say, Eun-Soo covered the local ordinances, and I think that's great work. And I wanted to congratulate Eun-Soo for her work on these foodware service ordinances in San Mateo County. She's worked on this for several years now, and it's a heavy lift. And I think her success is a result of sustainable effort, and it's been hard won, and she's continuing to do a great job. So thank you for that. So then we get to the state level. There are several bills currently that impact plastic pollution. In fact, I think I listed 9, and I'm just gonna, because I didn't use slides, I'm just gonna paste this into the chat function so that you can see what they are. I think you can see that hopefully. And so there's AB 1276, which is a foodware accessories bill. There's SB3, there's AB 962, which is about returnable beverage bottles, a very important one. There's AB 818, which is about labeling flushable wipes, which Lynn mentioned, and also very important. There's AB 1201, which is labeling compostable items. AB 622, which has to do with washing machine screens, which would capture microplastics from fabrics, clothing. And AB 661, which is regarding purchasing recycled products. Then there's AB 1371, which is about e-commerce packaging. That's a really huge, important one, because we all, the packaging issue is just really a hard one to tackle, especially during COVID. And then AB 478, which is the thermoform minimum content bill, and also a very important one. And then additionally, this very exciting thing, which you probably all know about, there is a 2022 ballot initiative, the California Recycling and Plastic Pollution Reduction Act. And that was introduced by Congressman Grijalva, and that will be on the statewide ballot in November 2022. It's aimed at reducing plastic pollution, restoring and protecting environments harmed by plastic pollution, and increasing recycling. So we encourage everyone to let our federal and state policymakers know that you support these initiatives and programs, and you can get more information and take action on National Surfrider's website at surfrider.org/action. And more information is available on the San Mateo County chapter's beach cleanups and Blue Water Task Force on our website at smc.surfrider.org. I think I've covered everything. But there's, I think those are the top initiatives currently, and I'm happy to answer any questions, and thank you again.
Thank you so much, Kimberly. So as you can tell, there are a lot of things going on the legislative front, and I think the one that we'll all be hearing about most will be the initiative that's going to be on the ballot next year. But hopefully some of these other things will get passed as well, and the more voice we have, the more chances things will get passed. So thanks for all the resources as well. We will be sure to send all of those out. There are a lot of people in this room who have a lot of knowledge about what we're talking about already, and I wanted to just open it up to see if there's anybody who wants to take themselves off mute and add something about any of the programs that they're working on, or if any of our speakers feel like there's something else that we didn't cover, because we covered a lot, but I know there's still more out there.
Hey, Petra, I'd like to chime in.
Thanks, John. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, everybody. I'm John Allen. I'm with the San Mateo County Office of Sustainability, and I actually help coordinate the Stormwater Compliance Program for unincorporated areas of San Mateo County. And that includes some of the bacteria issues that Reid and Jim at the Harbor District have mentioned. And I just wanted to kind of highlight some of the efforts going on in that space. First off, a big thank you to the staff at County Environmental Health who do the weekly beach water quality monitoring. They're out there every week, rain or shine, to make sure that they have samples of all the popular beaches in San Mateo County so that we understand if it's safe to be swimming at those beaches on any given week. But I also want to just highlight a lot of the actions that different agencies are taking to address the bacteria impairments, including the Harbor District, as Jim talked about, but the cities of Pacifica and Half Moon Bay, state parks, Caltrans, our wastewater treatment plant operators, the equestrian operators, and private landowners. And we work closely with the Regional Water Board to implement a variety of actions to help reduce the amount of bacteria flowing through our storm drain systems or flowing overland into our waterways and onto the beaches. And those include things like storm drain improvements and sewer line improvements, inspections of septic systems. We work with the equestrian operators on their ranch management plans. We do a lot of public outreach. Pet waste is a huge factor in bacteria entering our waterways, whether it's directly on the beach or further up in the watershed. And then also a lot of water quality monitoring. Environmental health, The Resource Conservation District does water quality monitoring on our behalf, which includes DNA testing to identify what are the specific sources of bacteria, whether it's human-derived or from pets like dogs or from cattle and equestrians. And then we also do a lot of reporting and regulatory compliance to the Water Board. And those are, some of the agencies that the Water Board has required us to work with and are required to take action. But as we've learned throughout this presentation, there's a lot of nonprofits and other organizations that are also doing a lot of great work in this space.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who wants to jump in? Anybody else have something that's any events coming up about water that they might want to talk about?
Well, I'd like to just say California Coastal Cleanup Day is coming on September 18th. And so if, and the County of San Mateo is, flows to Bay or arm of it is managing all of the groups. And so if you are able to get a group together to adopt some place, doesn't have to be a shoreline, it still matters. And so now would be the time to get involved and or promote the California Coastal Cleanup Day. There's I don't know, probably 150 sites in San Mateo County that are planned, as well as all over the state, inland and north, south, east, west. So we can all be involved and get out there and pick up our streets, beaches, and shorelines.
I wanted to share something this Saturday in Half Moon Bay. We are working along with the Granada Community Services District to clean the Burnham Strip, which is the large greenway across from what most of you know is Surfers Beach and the harbor. And so it's we're cleaning that green belt, which is of course right next to the beach, as well as Surfers Beach. So if anyone wants to come out on Saturday from 1 to 3, we'd love to have you. And we also offer community services or community service hours.
Great. Go ahead, Dennis.
I wanted to mention too that Sustainable Silicon Valley has their annual Water Palooza coming up at the over 2 days, end of September, 30th of September, October 1st, in the afternoons of both days. And that is kind of a variety show within the water kind of industry, focused in the Bay Area. We have problems with not enough and too much water at times, and really try to cover all of that. I'll put something in the chat about that.
Thank you, Dennis. Peter.
Yeah, hi, thanks. Unfortunately, my video is not working, but I put something in the chat. I just wanted to follow up on it and just say that SMCWIP, the Flows to Bay program that Reid manages, is doing a lot of great work, and all the agencies that are member agencies in that CCAG group are spending a lot of money on controlling trash that people may not be aware of, because these trash capture devices are down in the catch basins, in the storm drains, in the streets. And so you don't always see it, but there are a lot of devices around that are capturing trash, and they're being maintained, and those city crews and county crews are going around and they're getting the trash out of those storm drains before it gets out into the bay or the ocean. So it's something that people don't always know about, but there's a lot of work and a lot of money being spent to stop trash from getting out into the ocean. And also there's a study that we're doing right now. I say we at EOA on behalf of the Countywide program, the SMCWIP, to characterize trash that we're finding on streets and in the storm drains, and figure out what are the different types of trash that are being generated. And when I say trash, we kind of mean litter, to inform the ordinances that people might be adopting. So if we're finding certain types of single-use foodware is more prevalent than other types, maybe that's the type of ordinance you want to focus on, those kinds of things. Or how effective are the ordinances, like the one that Eun-Soo worked on? How effective is it? Are we seeing a decrease in the types of litter that we're finding out there? So we are doing a lot of things out there, and all of you are helping out with that through your tax dollars and through other funding mechanisms. So thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Really.
Yeah, I'm happy to share with you like the statistics that we've been collecting, because you know there's like 36 different items that are quantified, and of the volunteers that are logging it on this app, there's amazing data that's out there about what litter it is, and we can grab it by San Mateo County, the data from San Mateo County only if you want, and you can do it through the California Coastal Commission, or I can help you. It's all logged around the world on this app. It logs it around the world, and the data is out there, and it's very specific. But I have data since May of 2020 that I'm happy to share with you.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Great. I love it when connections are made. On that note, I want to first do something which I should have done at the beginning, which is introduce Michelle Kim, who's our AmeriCorps Vista for Thrive this year, and will be working and supporting me on the environment and sustainability. So wave. And I'd like to thank all of the speakers and panelists who are here, because you really brought a whole lot of different perspectives and different opportunities for us to take action. Really appreciate every single one of you, not just for being on the panel, but for the work that you do, for being a part of Thrive in this conversation. And we hope that you'll all join us for our September 23rd conversation as well. We will be sending out a follow-up email with lots of information from each of our panelists, so that you don't have to memorize anything or look anything up. So that'll come out next week. And thank you all, and have a great evening. And I hope you all get to the beach soon.